All right, here we go. This is Atangana the Show. Welcome to our English edition of Atangana the Show. It's always good to talk wrestling with our fans around the world. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to be talking to all our fans around the world. And it's always a good moment when we could share about 30 to 35 minutes of talking about the exciting world of professional wrestling. And today, this Wednesday is a very special Wednesday because it's not just talking about WWE, what happened in the first edition of Raw of 2018 and SmackDown, but it seems like the whole world is talking about Wrestle Kingdom 12, the New Japan Pro Wrestling big promotion and production with Jericho at one of the main events against Kenny Omega. So we'll be talking about all of that and more right here on our edition of Atangana the Show. We want to welcome all our fans, all our viewers around the world. We're going to say hello to our friends of Sportskeeda Wrestling. We want to say hello to the World Wrestling Network. We want to say hello to the pro wrestling world. We want to say hello to Wrestling Rumors. We want to say hello to WWE Australian fans. We want to say hello to Más Lucha, to WWE Latinoamérica, WWE Humor, Queremos WWE, Planeta Wrestling, WWE World Fans, Solo para Fanáticos de la WWE, Suplex, WWE Universo Latino, WWE Nación Mundial, WWE Es Mi Pasión, WWE Fanatic World, and welcome everybody. Next to me, my wife, she's called the Dangerous Blonde, Diana Savinovich, and Hugo Savinovich, and let's talk about wrestling. Welcome to our edition of Atangana the Show, and we are a lot of news in a short period of time, and we're going to start with the Raw show, first edition of the Raw show, and it wasn't excellent, but it did bring out some good quality matches. And the first edition of Raw, it was pretty good. I believe that going to their 25th anniversary of Raw, it served the purpose. I honestly think that we could expect more, but for being the first edition of Raw, we were expecting obviously more, but it didn't fail to deliver a good solid show. And then again, it's 3 hours, so it was good. Raw edition was good. Then we had a big problem. We had the big problem with SmackDown. SmackDown out of Orlando, Florida. It was a lot of people. We had the advantage we have is that we do the live reports of the shows in Spanish, and we usually get, Diana, around 15 to 1,600 to 2,500 comments. And the fans were saying, yes, the live show, it was full. The house was full, but the quality of the show was not that good. So we're going to talk about a regular Raw and a very poor SmackDown, which only led to us to be intrigued by Dolph Ziggler not showing up, by the storyline of Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan, obviously the Sami Zayn victory against AJ Styles, and the announcement by Daniel Bryan of having a handicap match at Royal Rumble where the WWE Championship is going to be on the line. AJ Styles against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. It's a handicap match, 2 against 1. It's not a triple threat match. And Shane, very disappointed again. He's in the middle of a tumultuous ending of the match. So with that said, and before we talk about Wrestle Kingdom and other things you might want to ask us, let's say hello to Diana Savinovich, the Dangerous Blonde. All right, Diana.
Hi to all those wrestling fans. What unites us is that passion for wrestling. And we're here in New York City. It is frigid. It is cold. So we're so happy to be here with you. And let's start, Hugo, with some of the comments. ASAP says the tag team champions on Wrestling News. Rich Corpus says Alpha, Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega, Wrestling Kingdom 12. We'll be watching it. We already ordered it, so we'll be watching it. We're really looking forward to that.
And we're going to do the Spanish report of Wrestle Kingdom 12. And if we have energy, we'll try to do a short English version for you guys. We're not committed to it.
ASAP, what it says is the tag team champions of Wrestling News is La Rubia and Hugo Severovich.
All right. Thank you very much. Welcome to our edition. People had high expectations of the Raw show, and the good news is it wasn't a disappointment, but it's not what you want for leading into Royal Rumble on the road to WrestleMania, and especially to celebrate the 25th anniversary of one historical live show, and it just happens to be sports entertainment wrestling. So let's talk about what happened, and if we have some comments from the fans there. If not, we're going to go more into more news.
Let's go. Martin Martinez says, "I wish Eddie Guerrero was still alive." We all do. We all do.
And it would be a precious moment if Eddie is around. You're going to have that Latino hit flavor and obviously some good solid wrestling. We really miss him, and what a talent! What a talent! Just a tremendous athlete. The frog splash, plancha sapito from the top rope. Just
and a great human being.
And obviously the technique to make each match a masterpiece. So SmackDown out of Orlando, what a disappointment. Fans, like I said, 1,700 comments we had from fans all over the world, including from Australia last night on our edition of the SmackDown Report, and fans coming out of the arena, right from the building.
Saying that it was full, but it did not meet their expectations.
Yeah. In other words, the quality of the show was not that good. And I was disappointed because the main event having the storyline that we all know, Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon, and also the fact that Kevin Owens was outside the ring and all of that. But the talent in the ring, AJ Styles and Sami Zayn, I believe that they had to let them go to their full capacity last night. You cannot have AJ Styles and Sami Zayn in a control environment. You have to let them go. You have to make them go with what the fans are expecting. The big problem is that promoters forget that fans are so well educated that they know exactly what they want. They know the storylines, and they also know the quality of each performer, each wrestler, and they know what each of them could bring to the table. Especially when you have a Sami Zayn and AJ Styles, the first SmackDown of the year. I mean, you have to bring the house down. You just have to, like the rap will say, you just have to just bring it. And it was a good match, but not the quality of what I was expecting and what a lot of people, even though like the fact that he lost against Sami Zayn and Shane being involved and Daniel Bryan keeping the storyline about the handicap match in Royal Rumble, yes, all of that is good, and we're intrigued with that, and we are still wondering what's going to happen with Dolph Ziggler. Yes, all of that. Also about the historic first female Royal Rumble. Yes, we're waiting to see what surprises are going to happen on that one, and also on the men's Royal Rumble. But yet, I think that especially SmackDown did not really deliver.
Our editor, Eddie Hernandez, says a cool blessing from Miami. I guess it's cool in Miami.
Yes, we are in this area. We're expecting something that you have not heard before in winter. It's a winter cyclone. So it's gonna be heavy,
pretty crazy,
heavy storm around here. So mentioning about Raw and SmackDown, we have to talk about what the Facebook and social media is talking about. Jericho against Omega. Obviously, that it's like in New Japan Pro Wrestling. That is not the first main event; is the second main event. It's a big show. They had about a week ago. They had already sold over 30,000 tickets. Just the value of having Jericho on that card against Omega. I have not seen anything like this. That another wrestling company. It's what everybody's talking about. It's not WWE. It's not Royal Rumble. It's not WrestleMania 34. They're talking about Jericho and New Japan Pro Wrestling.
And people are asking, well, how can they see Wrestling Kingdom 12? Well, you need to go to the page, njpwworld.com. That's the way you go. If I go to Facebook, and Facebook will tell you how to get in. I have aquí, Joshua King says, what is your opinion on Roman Reigns being the top dog? Because I'm against it.
Yeah, well, I believe that it's not his fault. A lot of the situation that has happened with the big dog and the fans, we have stated that before. Roman Reigns was pushed too strong at the wrong time, and the fans did not buy it. And then they just, regardless of what the fans were saying, they were not listening to it, and that just brought more negative reaction from the crowd. And at that moment, Vince and the creative team should have turned him the bad guy, the heel. It didn't happen. Now with the Shield, things were happening, and then the virus that Roman Reigns had, and then the injury. Now it's almost 6 months out of Dean Ambrose. It didn't really help, and I think it's been a solid advancement on Roman Reigns. Yes, he is the number one. Do I support that he's the number one? I believe he is money. I just think that he has had to earn it even in a harder way, because creative and Vince did not help his character. And but I do believe that the moment has come, and after the sacrifices, the passing of the torch, Undertaker and John Cena, putting him over right in the middle of the ring, Undertaker in WrestleMania, I think that the fans know it. Everybody knows that, and I believe that we're going to have some solid matches from him. And yes, they're going to be like, just with Cena, anti-Cena, you're going to have anti-Roman Reigns, anti-the big dog, but that is also money in the bank, because you're going to have the fans that become Roman Reigns, audience, and it's good. Muhammad Ali in boxing made a fortune out of the people that loved him and the people that hated him, because he took that from one of the big attractions of the wrestling world back then, who was Gorgeous George. And if you read the book of Muhammad Ali, he will be the first one to tell you he got that from the gimmick of Gorgeous George. And I think it's good business. If they hate you, they love you. But if they watch the TV show and they buy the merchandise and they go to the arenas and you make it fun for them, Roman Reigns has some good years ahead.
Some people love to hate. Well, Scott Paulson says, I'm a WCW power plant graduate class of 2002. I think the business is soft here in the States.
Yeah, but you have to be able to analyze that, because you still are able to make money, even with the poor creative ideas, even with companies not being organized. Sometimes Vince gets all the blame, but I think a lot of times other companies, instead of getting stronger and united, they fight among each other. And it's like, if you have an independent show on a Saturday X date, you're going to have in the same area 3 other companies having the show in the same night. So there's not unity. There's not a big desire of just bringing it to another level. But I do believe that we have some of the most passionate fans of wrestling around the world. I am an executive producer of New Generation Championship Wrestling. We have a big card coming to Kissimmee, Florida, February 24th. New Generation Championship Wrestling will crown its first champion, Alberto El Patron, Alberto, a.k.a. Alberto Del Rio, against Carlito Caribbean Cole, now known as Carlito. Carlito against Alberto Del Rio for the first crowning of the New Generation Championship Wrestling. We have a Bad Attitude style match, Badass Billy Gunn against the Giant Snitsky. In that match, everything goes. You got a 3 against 3. Everything goes match where you have EC3, you have Chris Adonis and Eli Drake from Impact Wrestling. You have 3 huge names against Apollo, Lion Apollo with Havana, Queen Havana. You have Chicano, and you have Anoya. So this
one of the Samoans.
It's going to be a tremendous match. Also on the card, Alberto's brother, the son of a legend, Hijo de Dos Caras, teaming up with Rebel Noriega against Ecuadorian Panther and Boricua Guerrero. In the card, too, the ex-World's Ladies Champion, Santana Garrett, and more attractions. Tickets, you can get the tickets at Epico with a K, epico.com.
Epico Magazine.
Epico Magazine, Epico with a K. EpicoMagazine.com, and it's going to be a great show. I am the executive producer of that company, and I travel around. We have my friend in Peru, Imperio Lucha. I just signed a big match there from Lucha Underground Cage against Carlito, who is the current world champion of Imperio Lucha in Peru, and I'm also involved with that production. And we have our own wrestling company in Chile, Wrestling Superstar. We were the people that brought to South America matches like the Young Bucks against the Hardys before the Hardys went back to WWE. The Mysterio Mania shows with Rey Mysterio, the Rob Van Dam shows, Chavo Guerrero, all these huge guys like Penta, Zero Fear. So that's what we do. And Johnny Mundo, and just big matches. Santana Garrett, Ivelisse. We brought the huge stars, and that's what we're doing around the world. So we're able to go deep into the industry because we travel, we see what is happening, and right now it's like everybody's talking about Jericho. It is just unfortunate about the time zone, because it's a huge event, but because of the time that it's happening, a lot of people will not get to see it live. Yes, they will see it, but there's nothing like being live at the show or to be able to see it live.
Because that all the spoilers. Once people see it, they're going to be sending it out, and you're already going to know. It's not the same thing when you don't know how the match ends. Well, Eddie, Opportunist Current says CM Punk.
Yes, CM Punk. It's also been a hot item. As you know, there was an article by WWE that talked about some of the most liked graphics of the year, and one of them was Triple H and CM Punk on the picture. Also, the fact that in one of their live shows of Raw, Elias mentioned CM Punk in Chicago. So a lot of rumors about that, and we have a lot more to comment. Diana.
Richie Jimenez says shalom and God bless you from San Diego.
San Diego in the house.
Dale Garza says thank you for doing in English.
Oh, thank you to you guys for checking us out. Big news about Jericho and his podcast. Talk is Jericho. Jericho revealed on his podcast the huge amount of money that he got from New Japan Pro Wrestling, and not just the money, but also he told New Japan Pro Wrestling that he wanted to make sure that he was one of the top matches. As you know, the main event in Wrestle Kingdom, it is something unique. It's like where the wrestlers and the fans compete, and it is the power of the vote of the fans, and also the tradition of who earns the shot to be at the big main event. It's strong style. It's a whole different world, and Jericho secured one of the top stars. We have heard from the top main event there that they were not too happy that Jericho was getting all the press. Jericho got upset and said, listen, there will be more people looking at their main event and at the stars of New Japan Pro Wrestling because Jericho is involved. And I think Omega and Jericho are going to just bring the roof down at the Tokyo Dome. Over 30,000 tickets were already sold like 2 weeks ago. I believe it will be closer to 40,000. Anyway, Jericho revealed the negotiations, and the big people from New Japan Pro Wrestling, they came over to this side of the world to sit and talk the business. The meeting took place in New York, and that's when they sealed the deal. And immediately when the deal was set, he then proceeded to call Vince McMahon. That phone call lasted 3 minutes and 22 seconds. And Jericho told Vince, listen, I gotta do this match. It is some match that is gonna bring my career into another level, because he is famous. Jericho is famous, but he wanted to go into another level. And obviously what Vince told him is that this match, Vince McMahon said to Jericho, this match is good for all of us because it will be a great benefit when you come back to the WWE. So to me, it also leaves the question open if this, like what happened with the UFC and Brock Lesnar being allowed to compete in the UFC, if there is a deal behind the deal that we know that will secure some kind of interaction with New Japan Pro Wrestling for WrestleMania 34, we'll soon find out. But we know that Jericho did talk to the big man, to Vince McMahon, and he agreed with that. Also, we have the Kevin Nash story. Kevin Nash, with good old JR, Jim Ross, on his podcast, Jim Ross, he told Jim Ross that Kevin Nash had a conversation with Vince McMahon about the era of WWE compared to the one where Kevin Nash was, a part of the clique, the big moment in what happened, and and he says, Nash says to Jim Ross, I remember being talking to Vince, and I asked him, how were things? You know, WWE, and he answered, what changed the most it was that when you guys were here, it looked like I had a tank full of sharks, of hungry sharks, where everybody wanted to be the top match. Everybody wanted to be the top star. Everybody wanted to be the WWE champion, and it was a constant battle. Vince said to Kevin Nash, now it seems like the wrestlers are waiting for me, like to be Queen Elizabeth and to knight them,
crown them.
You know, to crown them. So and for me to select them. In other words, it's not the same. Vince McMahon told Kevin Nash. These are revelations between what we just talked about Jericho and the conversation with Vince, that Vince and Triple H were aware of these whole negotiations, and that I believe that there is something behind Wrestle Kingdom 12 that goes deeper into what's going to happen at WrestleMania, and that we found out now from Jericho's lips that Vince was aware and Vince was happy.
It was good for business.
Yeah, that it's good for business. So a lot of exciting things are happening. We're going to stay up. We're going to do the Spanish Wrestle Kingdom 12 report, and hopefully, if we are not too tired, we'll do a short segment. So come back into in English. Come back into your pages early morning here in the eastern part of the United States, and we hope to have a recap of the Wrestle Kingdom. We've been studying it. We've been checking it out, and there are some good, solid stories about one of the main events. We have a comment from.
Yes, we do. Eddie Valerio says hello from Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic. He says, I like Roman Reigns. I think he's the next John Cena. And over here, let's see. Dale Garza said, I have passed a lot of your videos because it was in Spanish. I'm Mexican, but I don't speak Spanish. Well, you hear we have
right now, you not only need to learn to speak English, you need to speak Chinese, you need to speak Japanese. All these nations are where the big business is taking place, and you have to secure part of that industrial growth. And if you are a wrestling fan, then you get to listen to my commentary in Spanish and other New Japan Pro Wrestling, the Japanese version, and they're good. They're very good. So it's always good to learn another language.
Sandeep Singh Matharu asks, when will CM Punk be back in the WWE?
Look out. Who knows what might happen in Royal Rumble and leading into that WrestleMania. We know that if Vince McMahon could spend of his own money $100 million to reopen the XFL, the American football, American football league, and he could spend out of his own money $100 million. He has the cash to get CM Punk. I think it's a solid story.
Anthony T says he didn't know that you were in the WWE.
Yes, I was with WWE. I was part of the creative team at the beginning. I was also the Spanish play-by-play with Carlos Cabrera for like 17 years, and part of the international production. I was in charge of teaching all the other announcers, including the ones from Mexico and Spain, of Televisa, TV Azteca at one point, and all these big markets like Russia and China. And they will bring back their announcers, and through an interpreter, we will teach them what was the vision of Vince McMahon and the WWE product, so they could translate that feeling, not just the play-by-play, but the philosophy and the storyline of what is WWE. And that was a lot of fun for 17 years. And before that, I did 50 years of production. I was a top guy in the Caribbean, when the wrestling in Puerto Rico was like one of the #1 companies in the world. And I've done pay-per-views with AAA. Just recently did the 6th anniversary for the Crash Lucha Libre. We're still negotiating with them. And I'm doing live events all over the place.
The first season of Lucha Underground.
Yes, you can see that in Netflix. This first Spanish season of Lucha Underground, I did that. So I'm very active. We love this wrestling industry.
Michael Adam Dombrowski asks, what was it like almost bleeding to death at WrestleMania 15? Actually, it was WrestleMania 19.
I would not say that it was bleeding to death, but it was when Hulk Hogan was Hulk Hogan, 315 pounds with the Titans, and that was old school. You could stop the tape and check it out. There were no hands protection. it was solid, and he made a believer out of me of Hulkamania. He really knocked me out WrestleMania 19, where he was fighting Vince McMahon in a bloody bath, and Vince ducked, and then I got hit. You could see that in YouTube. Hulk Hogan against Vince McMahon, and it's just one of those moments in wrestling. Wrestling.
Rich
history.
Corpus says hello from Chile, Flint, Michigan, and that Chile is an understatement.
Yes, especially in Michigan. I would like to take this opportunity to talk to you about the main event. It's the first main event in Wrestle Kingdom 12. It's Naito against Okada. Okada and Naito are the main event. The Naito storyline, if you have the opportunity to go and check it out on YouTube, it's a man that fell out of grace from the Japanese fans and New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he reinvented himself going to Mexico and becoming one of the Ingobernables group, like the Bullet Club in Mexico, and he came back more of a heel, more of a spectacular wrestler, and you know, he reinvented himself and managed to make his return in a way like a Dolph Ziggler storyline, where he didn't really care for the championship or the applause of the Japanese fans, and constructed a new image, a new group. They call the Ingobernables of Japan, and his merchandise right now of the Ingobernables of Japan, Naito and his group are selling more merchandise than the Bullet Club, and also from other factions that I mean, this is like amazing. They're the most popular guys. But what I'm trying to say is, he was betrayed by his own people, by his own company, did not get the push. He didn't sit down and cry. He went to Mexico, reinvented himself, and guess what? He is the main event of the two main events where Jericho is going to fight Omega. And to me, it was just a wonderful storyline, because it also symbolizes that you might be hit by obstacles or storms in your life, but you don't surrender. You don't give up. And you will somehow, you will find a way.
Push through problems, and you get to the other side. Benjamin James says, hello from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Oh, it's beautiful, but it is so cold over there.
Anibal is asking, how old is the Sushi?
Sushi?
This girl is 21 years old.
21 years old. And when I do the calls in Spanish, I say, fuego, fuego, Sushi, llámalo bombero, which means fire, fire. Sushi, call the fireman, because that's our little girl. And I always bring part of me into the calling of the Spanish play-by-play. That's a little girl, 21 years old. They live about 65 to 75 human years, and they are just adorable, and she could be something else.
And they bite.
Yes.
Very hard.
Very, very hard.
Christopher Adam Hobbs says Bullet Club.
Yes, and now that you mentioned the original Bullet Club, we got to see them in together, and to me that was what saved Raw. And I wanted to leave that as the last comment tonight. If it wasn't because of that, Raw would have been in the same bad spot as the bad show that WWE started the year with in Orlando. The Miami show, where the Raw first Raw of the year 2018 took place, what saved the bell was that symbol of them hooking their hands together and reuniting the original Bullet Club. And to have these guys, Gallows and Anderson, respected, and to have Finn Balor, finally in a spot where his followers and the fans could feel comfortable that they're not just there. It felt good to have the original Bullet Club. I hope that the storyline continues. We know that they cannot use that name, but from the Balor Club to anything that you might have a trademark, I just believe that it's something special when you could, like the announcers mentioned Japan and what they created there. So I think that also is a hint of what is about to come in the future, with hopefully something big as a surprise going into Royal Rumble and especially to WrestleMania. But that saved the first Raw of 2018. to see the original Bullet Club, and it couldn't come in a better time, because we all know that the creative has been lacking, and especially with having almost everybody talk about Wrestle Kingdom 12 and Jericho and Omega, and like I said, I hope that we could deliver to you after we do the Spanish Wrestle Kingdom 12 report, that we could do a wrap of
small English version.
Yes.
Jeffrey Helmick asked, do you think this ongoing issue with Shane and Bryan will lead to Bryan finally getting cleared to wrestle?
There's something good happening there. My style of doing things is I let you fans talk about that, and I concentrate more on developing stories, because I don't believe on the spoilers. I don't believe that is my place, and you know, I believe that it's better for you guys to enjoy that part, and for me to just maybe a little comment here, a little comment there. But I do believe that is a good storyline wherever it's going to happen. I have a lot of faith that it's going to be something solid. But just to show you that they still need, WWE still needs Shane McMahon and a wrestler that was already retired, like Daniel Bryan, one more time. They need that value of the name, that power of the name, to get him out of hot water of a trouble situation.
So the Rascal Ion, so the Rascal, hello from Romania.
Romania in the house. Good to hear from you, my friend.
Ryan Sultana, hello from Sydney, Australia.
Sydney, Australia in the house. That's good. That's good.
Daniel Faya says, could this be a final cry by Jericho to get a final win or final push before retiring?
Listen, I think that if Vince...
And he says hi from Costa Rica.
Hi from Costa Rica. They call that the land of pure life. Pura vida. I think that Jericho is Jericho. I mean, this guy, what I do believe is that no matter what Jericho does, yes, it's good what he's doing with Wrestle Kingdom, but even if he was not involved on that, Jericho, it's already, to me, he's already an icon. But I do believe that what he's doing, it's just opening up, more doors for the people that are in charge of New Japan Pro Wrestling to see that the right way to go is to expand their storylines with foreigners. They call them gaijin. To have that, it puts bigger value into the product, especially with now being with Mark Cuban in his network here in the United States and the bigger plans they have. I think Jericho, it's a solid investment. And I don't think that Vince is going to forget what especially if what I believe is going to happen, that Jericho is going to create a match and a half with this. He says that Jericho stated that if Omega has been credited with the perfect match, he says that if that was a 6, Jericho believes he could bring it into another 8 or 9 or 10, and Jericho has already, to me, opened up a door that when he retires, he should be in charge of a creative big position in the WWE or in a big company, because I think he is solid with storylines. I think he is so talented that if he's not hired to be an analyst on a special show in a big company, and to do the creative of the company, he should have his own company, and I believe that he could do beautiful things if he's a promoter, because he has learned so much. He's never afraid of asking questions and never afraid to do what is in his heart, the passion, and that's why Jericho is Jericho.
Corey Pipsinski says, I don't think Vince is starting up the XFL again. I think he's going to make a bid to buy the Carolina Panthers. No, it's already official. You got to just check the press releases. He's already got the trademarks for the whole body that involves the XFL. That's already out there in the market, and he is putting out of his own money. He sold $100 million of stocks of WWE. So here, I don't know if you're aware, it's not just if you have the money, you could buy an NFL team.
Trust me, it doesn't work out like that. President Donald Trump, at one point he tried and he was not accepted. You have to be accepted. It's not just a club that you could join and be an owner because you have the money. No, the league has a committee, and the committee will decide, and there's a lot of things, so it's not just the money.
Axel J. Valle Claudio says, Hugo, it's freezing in Connecticut.
Wow.
Sushi, please call the bomberos.
All right, so hopefully sometime in the early morning of, what do you call it, from tonight to tomorrow, Thursday?
Today's Wednesday, so Wednesday, Thursday.
Sometime early in Thursday morning, we will be finishing the Wrestle Kingdom 12 Spanish report, and we hope to have the energy to do a short recap for you guys in English. And like always, so thankful of having this opportunity. You got some more comments?
Yes, I do. Victor Ampere says, Hugo, I think Jericho is going to win this. A good storyline because going to be a rematch at WrestleMania 34. He says that's his opinion. And Jared Richardson says, hi from Sydney, Australia. What do you think WWE needs to do to make the current product watchable, like when you were part of the company?
I believe you have to listen to the fans and give the fans what they want to see, use the right talent in the right matches, and eliminate segments that are boring, and give people just what we used to do before for 70 years. Just good storylines where you wanted to see the first match to the last match, and then you wanted to go see it live at the Coliseum, and respect the people that have earned the rights to be the top star. Don't have a Nakamura just hanging out there when he is the king of the strong style of Japan. He is like a huge star in Japan, and here he's not doing anything. So those are the things they must correct before we go off the air. We want to say hello again to all our friends from Sportskeeda Wrestling, and from the World Wrestling Network, from the Pro Wrestling World, from Wrestling Rumors, from WWE Australian fans, from Más Lucha, from WWE Latinoamérica, WWE Humor, Queremos WWE, Planeta Wrestling, WWE World fans, solo para fanáticos de la WWE, Suplex, WWE Universo Latino, WWE Nación Mundial, WWE es mi pasión, WWE Fanatic World. Thank to all of you guys for this beautiful and passionate pages to have this opportunity of sharing these moments together. Hopefully we'll be able to do the recap of Wrestle Kingdom as soon as we go off there with the Spanish one. And stay tuned to the page you're watching right now. This alliance is to create more enthusiasm of wrestling with your comments, for those comments that you see printed when you talk to us, that they could go straight to the creative team of the different companies. And that's what we do. And that's what we like to do.
Tolerasco Ion Tolerasco says Omega will destroy Alpha Chris Jericho. Well, that's his opinion. Wow. We'll see what happens. We want to wish you all a very, very happy New Year.
Speaking of the Alpha, the T-shirt of Jericho is the top-selling T-shirt right now, where they sell all this wrestling T-shirts around the world. #1 right now. The Jericho shirt, the Omega shirt, it's #1, all right?
Benjamin James says, we'll be watching again. Love you guys. We love you too. Remember, we're here every Wednesday, 8 o'clock New York time. So have a very happy New Year. Might this be your best year yet?
Tangana. Take care, guys.